The ride-hailing war is here, and we shall see who's going to be the winner. First, research from Bloomberg Intelligence is saying that Tesla will have a self-driving advantage and will be first to massively scale. We'll watch that video. Second, not to be outdone, Waymo just announced they're expanding their service areas both in San Francisco and Los Angeles. But is it enough? And at what price points? Third, new software code was found in the Tesla apps that suggests Tesla's Robotaxi is near with new features. Elon Musk also responded to the news that NHTSA is fast-tracking approvals for fully autonomous vehicles. Finally, Gene Munster of Deepwater has released their Robotaxi report. Let's see if you agree with this analysis. At least they're trying now. We've got Brian White from FutureAza joining us today, one of the best YouTube channels out there. Thank you so much for joining me today, Brian.
Great to be here. I've been digging into the numbers behind Waymo and Cybercab. And you and I have a show coming up about it. Ours will have run Thursday morning, where I'm going to be asking you the really tough questions from a business perspective, because you know how to crunch those numbers. And I think you'll see, as we're going to go through today, how insanely bad the structure of Waymo is from the get-go.
What's really interesting is as we get closer and closer to the launch of Tesla's Robotaxi, we are getting more and more reports. You got Deepwater, Gene Munster releasing his report. You got OB, this independent research group, releasing their report. Then you have Bloomberg, shockingly. And I think because Bloomberg, of course, just several weeks ago, they throw out some sort of FUD garbage that came out there. Well, this one is pro-Tesla. You know why? Because this is from Bloomberg Intelligence, a separate division that does real research, and not just some journalists writing articles willy-nilly. So they interviewed, Ed Ludlow interviewed this guy who wrote that research. Let's listen to what he actually says about what he thinks about Tesla.
The kind of key headline from the React piece is that Tesla's vehicle cost is about 1/7 of Waymo's. Why were you so focused on that, Steve?
Well, I think it's a critical piece in getting it on a commercial basis, on a mass scale basis. And also, the payback is also important. If you can produce the cars at a fraction of the price, look, you can get more of these vehicles out on the road. And also, whoever's running them can actually make their money back much sooner.
The issue you really highlight is the lack of production of real vehicles by Waymo versus Tesla that just has hundreds of thousands of millions on the road already. Is that the key dividing factor here, Steve?
That's one key dividing factor. I think technology is also important. Look, I don't want to discount Waymo's technology. I think they have had a number of cars on the road. It's working. There's always going to be some issues here and there. But look, I think if you look at Tesla's technology and their approach with using cameras, it's just much easier to scale. And especially now, if you look at the recent news, the Chinese are actually opening up the market for them, and allowing them to export some of that training data out of China. That's a huge win for Tesla and scaling over the long term.
Steve, I used full self-driving supervised, the latest version this morning, to go to 30 miles from my house to the studio. I do it every day. Yeah. You say very clearly it's still a level 2 system, right, on a technical basis. Do you see the jump to a software platform that powers a vehicle with no one in the driver's seat at all?
That's going to be a while. I have to admittedly say it's going to be a while. I think the consumer needs to gain confidence. It's going to be a gold standard. It's going to be, if a car is 99.99% accurate, I think then the consumer will be more confident. Before that, I think there's going to be always some level of monitoring from the consumer. We're not at that stage where we see, this is not like the iRobot movie that Will Smith was on a long time ago, where cars are actually driving itself and making decisions on their own. We're not at that moment yet, but what's really important is the training data. And that's where Tesla also comes in as well, where they have just tons of training data from around the world.
Thoughts on that?
Fascinating. I appreciate you sharing with me the clip. I had not seen it. I've been on the road. It's amazing to me that this analyst both gets it and doesn't, because he's saying that it's going to be, it's going to be ages before it's unsupervised. By ages, when you say someday, do you mean Sunday? Because we've seen them on the road. That's fine. That's fine. The 1/7 of the price number, I disagree with. I think it'll be more like 1/6. Very close enough. Okay. But but he gets it. I've read the criticisms of the Bloomberg report. Bloomberg just outed themselves as clowns. No, they're analysts who analyze again, this isn't Bloomberg media. This is Bloomberg intelligence. These are the guys who create the data that goes into the Bloomberg terminal, for which investors pay $30,000 a month to access. These are very serious people. And what he's looking at is the cost per mile. It's just, Waymo they made a fantastic Nokia. They made a fantastic Motorola, but we're in the iPhone era. And those huge early advantages that Waymo had are hard to defend. If you look at where Waymo was 10 years ago, we thought they were done. We thought it was over. We thought it was solved. And the demos that they presented certainly made it look like it was solved. And it was not. Nowhere close. Can they scale? We don't know. Can Tesla scale? We don't know. But we have to start with an assumption that they both can scale reasonably close to each other in timeline, because that's the data that we see. And if they're both able to begin their process of scaling, like the analyst said, huge advantage. And I thought it was great that the host has personal experience that he can bring to the table and say, look, I know you keep calling this level 2, but I'm here to tell you that's maybe not the right way of thinking about it. So I think it's a very interesting clip and a very interesting report.
I did a full show diving deep on this Bloomberg research previously, but this is the first time I played that clip, which is the actual guy who wrote the report saying things. And the 1/7 price, okay, doesn't matter if it's 1/6, 1/7. It's that magnitude chain difference. We know that, and he says it matters, right? The cost of the car does matter for price per mile. And the second thing but you said the scale, I got confused, because you're saying that we have to come with the assumption that both can scale as fast as. No.
Yes, because.
Why do you say that?
Because as fast as you can to Waymo is a couple thousand a year. That's the limit to their ability to scale. If they wanted to go to 1,000 cars a day, they can't. There's no one who will build the cars. I'm saying the underlying tech is ready.
Yeah, I see. Okay, I think I'm understanding you. If Tesla needs to scale to where Bloomberg to where Waymo is now,
when Tesla says we are at 100-to-1 supervision or 1,000-to-1 supervision, whatever the magic number is, a switch will flip and all factories will go to full capacity and remain there until every market is saturated.
Yeah, we're talking millions. Okay, thanks. I'm glad that I clarified that. The next story, though, is Waymo is out there announcing that they're expanding. Here we go. This is their announcement just a couple days ago. Ride to more places in the Bay and LA, starting today in San Francisco, with new areas coming to LA later this week. Download the Waymo One app to see our new service areas. So they've expanded. The question, of course, is why did it take this long? They've been out there for 10 years. They only have 1,500 cars. They're only finally expanding. Why did it take so long?
My question is, are they actually ready? Or are they willing to just lose more money to get out ahead of Tesla and other players in other countries? Because Waymo has the money to burn. Not infinite money, surely, but an extra 1,000 cars worth, perhaps. And it's not like they're offering rides at rock bottom prices. People are just willing to take them. Maybe it's the novelty, maybe it's the privacy, whatever it is. They're able to command those prices, at least for now.
Yeah, we'll look at those prices again, which is shocking. Shocking. Waymo charges more than Uber and Lyft, and they only have 1,500 cars. So yes, they're going to expand now, but it's like they're only going to add 2,000 cars in next year. So it's like they're expanding without adding cars. I think this is more of a press release the day before Tesla launches, days before, just to say, hey, we're not like tiny.
We have seen.
So
we have seen in Arizona, they had a whole lot of them in the Magna lot for upfitting. So they are adding vehicles too.
No, but what that is, Brian, was those are the Jaguar I-Pace. So Jaguar basically said, we are done. We're no longer building this car ever. We're going to go and deliver the 2,000 I-Paces that we have now to your lots. And so now they're sitting there waiting for Magna, which is Waymo's partner, to uplift them, which is add all of this, LiDAR to it. And they're going to take until next year, all of next year, to do that. So that's just because you saw that in the lot doesn't mean that they're scaling faster than anything. It's just because Jaguar said,
but they are adding
you got to get they're going to add 2,000 next year.
Well, do you know why they chose the I-Pace? Magna makes those. So it's Magna making them in one place, shipping them to a different Magna location to do the upfit. And then, but as a result, Magna already knows the schematics, the internals, the wiring, the everything. They know it as better than Jaguar does, probably. So it removes one small obstacle while adding a different one, another layer of cost.
Yep. So, again, you have to ask yourself, why did it limit to geography? And why are they expanding, taking so long? Tesla will launch. They will have geography limitations as well, because they only have 10 cars, 20 cars, 40 cars.
Sure.
But like you said, once they go boom, they can go city by city. They can go state by state. They can go country by country if they wanted to.
You look at
regulations.
If you look at Blue Cruise, Ford's adaptive driver assistance, automated driver assistance system, it can handle many highways and some surface streets. If you look at FSD, it can handle grass. It can escape from a grass parking lot or a dirt parking lot. We've seen it as far back as 12.2, I think. So, it's one thing that was
about two different things. Yeah.
Well, but what I mean is that Tesla can go anywhere. You're talking about it's slowly expanding geographies for Waymo, and we know why. It's because their Ultra HD mapping system is exceptionally data intensive, where Tesla's that looks like a road to me.
Yep. Waymo does not do highways. So shocking. Okay.
I've heard that it can now, but I haven't seen any footage of one on a highway.
So we've got this Obi released this price point, which is crazy. Okay. And Obi is very, we took a look at that, very close look at that, and they're very credible. Like hundreds of thousands of data points to come up with this number. And basically Waymo charges way more money than the others. Across the board. So, but look how crazy this is. For a rides that are less than a mile, they will charge you $42.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Well, I imagine that's a lot of $20 0.2 mile rides, but that is bonkers.
For miles that are under 6 miles, that's when you start getting the $5 per mile. So we've been saying for so long, Waymo, Lyft, and Uber all charge about the same. They charge around $2 to $3 per mile. Ain't true.
No.
That ain't true.
I've been saying 3 to 4, but I can see from this that I am still incorrect. And now that I think about it, these numbers do look more correct.
Exactly. I mean, yes, I think if you're talking 20 miles, maybe you're going to get to the $3 to $4 per mile. But it's the point being that Waymo charges more. They charge more than Lyft and Uber, and yet customers prefer Waymo. They're winning market share. And so here comes Tesla. What do you thinking Tesla will charge? Are they going to charge $5 a mile?
I don't think they need to. I don't think they could satisfy demand if they did. I think there's a lot of reputational demand built in to something that looks cooler, something that I mean, even if just Tesla superfans were the first wave of adopters, there would still not be enough cars on the road to handle it. So I think under lift would be unwise. Why bother? Why leave the money out there? And that means that it will take very little amount of time for the vehicle to pay for itself. And once it pays for itself, that means with cash, you can put out a second one, just with operating cash flow. So the growth would be huge.
Okay.
And
I disagree with you. I disagree with a lot of people who
you think it'll go low?
Yeah. This idea that a lot of people said that, right? When you have very little cars or a few cars, 10, 20, 100, 300, 400, in the case of Waymo, they have 1,500. And let's say in the state of Austin, they have 300 cars, right? Even San Francisco, they have 300 cars. They can charge a lot because it's a surge pricing, right? You want to charge more for the people who are willing to pay for it, make the margin, but don't get too many people asking for it and getting disappointed. I think that Tesla, like you said, Tesla will have so much demand regardless of what price they pay. There are always going to be people that is not going to get it. I think that they're going to charge less, much less, because it's part of the brand. The brand is, we've come out with a Robotaxi that is driverless and low cost. You don't want to come out and not have low cost. So even if I would still come out and say, yep, it's going to be whatever, $2 or $3 a mile, but just know that I'm always going to be the lowest cost offering out there. And I know you said they'll go under Lyft, but they don't have to go much lower than Lyft. But I think they need to be at the $2 mark. Regardless.
I'm happy to continue disagreeing on that.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. I'm not solidly saying it has to be what I'm saying.
Sure.
I'm just playing around with this idea that when you launch a brand new product, there are some key value props that you want the consumer to hang on to and say, this is who you are. Okay? Like you don't launch a sugar-free Coke and then, because of the market forces and everything, we'll add a little bit of sugar in there. We don't have to. No, you launch with a sugar-free Coke. You know, I mean, like you got to launch with the key value props that you're pitching. So,
well, I would say though, if you've got 1,000 cars out there and they're doing 50 miles a day, that's 50,000 miles. That's at $1 off. Even at even at $1 off, you're talking 50 grand a day. That's millions. That's millions and millions of dollars that they could have used to buy more cybercabs, or, just put it in the bottom line.
Okay, so we've got app updates. This is interesting. So we've got several groups here. We got Green Day Only. You got Tesla app updates. They look at software, the Tesla app, and they look into the code, and they found a few things. It looks like that this new code for the Tesla app will have more Robotaxi code, location type, pickup address added, a new API endpoints added. Alicorn is the code that Tesla uses to refer to their Robotaxi program, and that is a combination of a unicorn and a
Pegasus.
So it's looking like we're on our way. You got these bug fixes and miscellaneous other changes. So everybody's thinking, okay, this is it. The Robotaxi part of the Tesla app is called Rides.
Good.
Yeah, Rides. And then there's also this option for dark and light mode UI, pickup location tweaks. So signals.
Yes, and these are all the little things we needed to see. And I've seen just this week new behaviors in FSD. We're on the highway. We're all kind of, enjoying the ride. None of us are driving. We're just there supervising. And the car swerved aggressively because a big chunk of tire rubber was laying in the road. Then we didn't see it. It saw it before we did. It avoided it. That's new behavior. I swear it used to aim for it, but it just felt that way. But yeah, it's now doing the things that you need it to do to preserve the value of your vehicle, the operational safety of your vehicle. And we were all very impressed with that.
And the other big news that came out was NHTSA. NHTSA came out and they basically said, we're going to officially now start to fast track approvals for the fully autonomous vehicles, including Tesla Cybercab. The agency will now streamline exemptions for vehicles without steering wheels or pedals, reducing approval times from years to just months. Elon said, cool. I mean,
Yes.
that's so important. And the thing is, I was just saying to some folks that this actually singularly favors Tesla, because the only other car company I can think of that has started to create or is producing cars without steering wheels and pedals is Tesla and Zoox. Yeah, maybe a couple more.
Those are the only two I can think of. There might be more little ones with like 1 or 2 test vehicles, but I don't know of them. Those are the only 2 at any kind of scale that are on the immediate horizon.
Yeah, and then there is already, I think, a exemption for up to 2,500 of these. You know, you as a vehicle maker can make 2,500 of these and release them on the roads as test pilots. So it's interesting that NHTSA said we're going to do this, because it looks like that this paves the way for Tesla to make millions of them if they wanted to. We don't know the number that they'll limit you to first, but it
So
sounds
the
like
NHTSA rule was terrible. It was actually 2,500 total across all manufacturers nationwide. Gotcha. So it was worse. It was so dumb. But you could get an exemption, and nobody was left wanting for an exemption. And somehow Zoox never even applied for permits, just said ours don't qualify under this rule for some reason, and they never got in trouble. So, I mean, and, you know, they haven't killed anybody, so that's something, I guess.
Yeah. I'm going to play this clip here of Sandy Munro interviewing Elon Musk and what he said, what FSD needs to be able to do if it sees a UFO.
For self-driving, even if the road is painted completely wrong, and a UFO lands in the middle of the road, the car still cannot crash and still needs to do the right thing. So, what really matters, like the prime directive for the autopilot system is don't crash. That really overrides everything. So no matter what the lines say or how the road is done, the thing that needs to happen is minimizing the probability of impact while getting you to your destination conveniently and comfortably. But the prime directive, absolute priority, is minimize probability of injury to yourself or to anyone on the road, on the pedestrians or anything like that. So, and it's really, it can't be dependent on the road markings being correct or anything like that. It's just got to be, no matter what, it's not going to crash. For self-driving, even if
Yeah. Agree on all counts. There was the great test we saw out of China where there was a little roadway, a little side road that had a tree in the middle of it, an old tree. We can't get rid of it. You just drive around it, and you saw the test driver took, 8-10 different vehicles through this scenario, and all of them failed in different ways. And only one car said, okay, I get it. There's a tree in the way. I can fit, and did it.
Tesla.
And that was Tesla.
That's a cool scenario. Okay, so we have more and more institutional analysts at least releasing their Robotaxi reports.
Well, I was going to say these analysts are just now catching up to where CERN Basher, you and I were a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, that's because they can't be caught saying the day before. I got to get my note. Right. Here's Gene Munster. Robotaxi is a juicy opportunity. How much juice? He said, next week's soft launch of Robotaxi in Austin matters because the economics of autonomy are compelling. This note outlines sensitivity to both the numbers and the timing of service ramp-up. The bottom line, there's a lot riding on how Robotaxi performs in Austin from a safety standpoint, as autonomy is Tesla's future. In general, CERN Basher, we'll look through what he thinks about the report. But basically, at the end of the day, it's good that we have this report. They're still very conservative. And one example, CERN is saying that Gene seems to be stuck on the ride-share market as the market opportunity. When in reality, it's far larger than that, especially when prices drop, the market size will greatly expand. You know how we showed you the prices that they will charge $40 for a 1 mile, or 20 plus, $6 a mile for the 6 miles and under. That's ride hail. So yes, you can capture that market if you charge the same. But what happens if you can charge under $2? What happens if you can charge under $1? So the key thing to remember is Uber, Lyft cannot charge under than what they're charging now, because it costs them that much with the drivers and others. Waymo cannot charge under that because the cost per mile is so high for them. The cost for the vehicle and the support that they need is higher. Tesla, if it proves correct, they are designed specifically to be under $2 a mile. What happens then?
It goes crazy. It goes crazy. Let me look. So I've seen a lot of analysts saying, well, Tesla can't be worth this because even if they captured 100% of today's rideshare, and I say, let me stop you there. 30% of Uber's revenue comes from Uber Eats, something insane like that. That wasn't modeled in when Uber started. That was something that became a new thing that no one thought of. No one thought of having taxis bring you burritos. That's mental. But in this particular situation, Uber found a way to make it work, and it's a monster in their revenue. You have to look at things that don't exist yet. Things that can become real once you change the price. If, what if we were trying to assess the value of Optimus by saying, well, if you captured 100% of the maid business or butler business in the U.S., that's not what it is. You're missing it.
That's not what it is. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good example. Here to go. There were 4 billion rideshare rides in the U.S. in 2024. 4 billion.
Wow.
This is,
Wow.
Uber, Lyft, and Waymo, let's say. The rides growth rate for Uber and Lyft in 2024 was around 25%. Expected to decline to be about 12% for 2025. And then they go, okay, so we believe a reasonable average annual rides growth rate through the end of the decade is 5%. And that's what we're going to model. That's the assumptions. It's basically, here's the rideshare market. Let's see what percentage of that rideshare market Tesla might be able to win. And
that's terrible math.
Short-sighted.
That's terrible. This is the solar adoption chart all over again, where they say, here's our projection for solar for the next 10 years. And it's always flat. And then they jump and it's flat again. And they always get it wrong because they can't see that they're in an S-curve. And for every dime you drop the price per mile, you inch a little further up the S-curve. And this seems to be ignoring that entirely.
The whole point of what Tesla's trying to do is break this market and have a low-cost option for it, not just equal pricing. And if you cut in half, what happens to rides, growth rides? All of a sudden, a whole new segment of people start riding it that wouldn't ride it before. The timing, again, his fleet ramps are based on current rideshare market. Uber's own research in 2022 showed the potential for a massive TAM expansion as prices drop. So again, he's just using existing current rideshare market. And Uber themselves published this research saying that if you lower the prices, the TAM grows significantly.
Yes. Maybe not exponentially, but it does multiply. It gets pretty out of hand as you approach $1 a mile. Yeah.
And then he goes, Tesla owners, they believe that only a small percentage of the 7.7 million Teslas will opt in. So only 17% need to opt in to service 70% of the market.
That's crazy. I love it.
It depends on how much money you're making. I mean, if you're making really good money,
right?
Do you think only 20%?
But as you add more, the price continues to come down. The market continues to expand. Who knows? There's a sweet spot. I know people who would put it in the market if they could get $2 a mile out of it. And I know people who wouldn't. So everyone's got a price.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for walking me through all this. Brian, check him out on his channel, FutureAza, the best channel out there. Comes to retail Tesla analyst, one of the best. Deep dives. Thank you. Bye all. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.